Did you know that some vegetables you've always believed were healthy could actually be harming your body after 60? It may sound surprising, but as we age, the very foods we once trusted without question can quietly turn into hidden threats. And the most shocking part? They're not rare or exotic. They're probably sitting in your kitchen right now. As we get older, our digestive system changes, nutrient absorption becomes weaker, and our sensitivity to certain natural compounds and toxins increases. Foods that once seemed completely safe, foods you may have eaten for decades, can start working against your health, especially if they're consumed too often or in the wrong way. In today's video, we're uncovering 6 very common vegetables that older adults should think twice about. These aren't unusual or hard-to-find items. In fact, they're the same vegetables you probably buy regularly at the grocery store or already have on your plate. But once you understand how they interact with the aging body, particularly when it comes to blood pressure, thyroid health, and kidney function, you'll see why so many health experts are now urging caution. This video isn't about creating fear. It's about knowledge. It's about giving you back control, the kind of control that often slips away quietly with age. So if you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, I encourage you to stay with me. The vegetables we'll discuss today may be the very ones you've trusted for years, and what you learn now could help you avoid long-term damage that no one ever thought to warn you about. Number 1. A vegetable that can spike oxalates and increase kidney risks. Let's start with one that many health-conscious people swear by: spinach. It's often praised as a superfood, packed with iron, magnesium, and vitamin K. For decades, you've probably been told it's one of the best vegetables you can eat. But here's the part most people never hear. Spinach is also extremely high in oxalates. Oxalates are natural compounds that bind with calcium inside the body. When that happens, they form sharp, tiny crystals. These crystals can settle in your kidneys, and over time, contribute to the formation of painful kidney stones. The risk is especially high for older adults, whose kidney filtration systems are no longer as strong or efficient as they once were. For someone over 70, that added stress on the kidneys can become a serious problem. Now, you may be thinking, but I've eaten spinach all my life without any trouble. And you wouldn't be alone in that thought. But here's the reality. Aging changes the way your body processes certain foods. Your risk at 70 isn't the same as it was at 40 or even 60. Hydration levels shift, calcium balance changes, and gut bacteria evolve over time. All of these factors make it harder for the body to handle oxalates smoothly. Take Henry, a 75-year-old man I spoke with. He had no history of kidney problems at all. But after starting a daily routine of drinking green smoothies loaded with raw spinach, everything changed. Within just a few months, he found himself in the emergency room with his first kidney stone. The doctors told him directly that his so-called healthy habit had overwhelmed his kidneys. There's also something subtle at play here: the illusion of control. When we believe we're doing something good for our health, like eating plenty of greens, we often stop questioning the details. But raw spinach is very different from lightly steamed spinach. Steaming can reduce oxalate levels by as much as 80%, while raw spinach keeps every bit of it intact. That's why more dietitians today recommend that older adults limit raw spinach or rotate it with lower oxalate greens like arugula or romaine. So, what's the real takeaway? Spinach itself isn't bad. It's simply not the harmless health hero we've always assumed, especially when it comes to aging kidneys. If raw spinach is still part of your daily routine, it might be time to switch things up. Your body, and especially your kidneys, will thank you in the long run. Number 2. A vegetable that disrupts thyroid balance. Next on the list is a family of vegetables that frequently shows up on heart-healthy meal plans: cruciferous vegetables, with kale leading the charge. Kale has become the poster child of clean eating, but here's the part many people don't realize. Kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and broccoli all contain compounds called goitrogens. These compounds can interfere with your thyroid's ability to use iodine. And iodine is essential for producing the hormones your thyroid needs to function properly. When thyroid function slows, it doesn't just sap your energy. It ripples out and affects nearly every part of your body, your metabolism, your mood, your weight, and even your heart rhythm. This becomes especially critical after 70, when metabolism naturally slows down. If, on top of that, you unknowingly eat foods that disrupt thyroid activity, you may be setting yourself up for fatigue, brain fog, and sudden weight gain that seems to appear out of nowhere. One woman I spoke with, Judith, was 74 years old. Every morning, she blended raw kale into her smoothies, believing she was fueling her body with pure health. But over time, she began to notice troubling symptoms. She felt cold nearly all the time, exhausted even after a full night's sleep, and couldn't figure out why. It wasn't until her doctor ordered a thyroid panel that the truth came out. Her hormone levels had dropped dramatically. Once she stopped eating raw kale daily and began cooking her greens instead, her symptoms improved in a remarkable way. And that's the key lesson here. How you eat cruciferous vegetables matters. Cooking them helps break down most of the goitrogens, making them far less disruptive to your thyroid. But when they're raw, juiced, or powdered, those compounds enter your system at full strength. That's why the risk often goes unnoticed. You think you're making a choice that's good for your heart or your overall health, while in reality, your thyroid is silently paying the price. So, if you're over 70 and regularly loading up on raw kale, Brussels sprouts, or cabbage, especially in smoothies or juices, this is something worth reconsidering. It doesn't mean you have to eliminate these vegetables entirely. Instead, it's about recognizing your body's changing needs and adjusting the way you prepare your food. By doing so, you continue to benefit from their nutrients without putting unnecessary strain on your thyroid. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs, empowers, and inspires. Now, let's move forward. Number 3, a vegetable that raises blood pressure through hidden sodium. And this one is surprising, because most people would never even think of it as a risk. Pickled vegetables, especially pickled cucumbers, radishes, or even pickled beets. They might taste refreshing, even nostalgic. For some, they bring back memories of a grandmother's kitchen or summer cookouts with friends. But hidden beneath that tangy flavor is something far less comforting: high levels of sodium. When people think about excess sodium, their minds usually go straight to salty chips or processed meats. But pickled vegetables can be deceptively loaded with salt because of the brine they're stored in. Just one small serving can contain more sodium than an entire meal should have. And for older adults, that's a serious concern. After 70, the kidneys naturally become less efficient at filtering sodium from the bloodstream. This means salt begins to accumulate, leading to rising blood pressure, increased water retention, and added strain on the heart. I remember speaking with Robert, a 76-year-old man who had been living alone after his wife passed away. He didn't cook much, so he relied heavily on jars of pickled vegetables for both convenience and flavor. To him, they seemed like a simple, harmless addition to his meals, but his doctor started noticing troubling spikes in his blood pressure, even though Robert wasn't adding table salt to anything he ate. The hidden culprit? Those pickled side dishes he was having night after night. Once Robert switched to fresh steamed vegetables and cut back on pickles, his blood pressure began to improve within just a few weeks. The lesson here isn't that you must ban every pickle from your diet. It's about awareness, watching portion sizes, and paying attention to how often you include them. Some brands now offer lower sodium versions, which can be a smarter option. Better still, think of pickled vegetables as a condiment, a small accent to a meal rather than a daily staple. A little taste here and there is one thing, but making it a constant habit is another story entirely. As we age, our blood vessels naturally lose some elasticity, and the heart has to work harder to keep blood flowing smoothly. Adding excess sodium, especially from places we don't even expect, is like pouring extra pressure into a system that's already working overtime. So, take a look inside your fridge. If those jars of pickled vegetables are disappearing faster than anything else, your blood pressure may be paying the price, whether you realize it or not. Number 4. A vegetable that quietly spikes your blood sugar. This one often surprises people. Corn. Sweet corn, corn on the cob, canned corn, even corn-based snacks. Most of us think of corn as a simple vegetable, something harmless and even healthy. It's colorful, it's sweet, it's familiar, and it often feels like a wholesome addition to the plate. But what many don't realize is that corn is actually one of the highest glycemic vegetables. That means it can cause your blood sugar to spike rapidly, especially when it's eaten without enough fiber or protein to help slow down the absorption. If you've spent a lifetime enjoying buttered corn at summer barbecues or adding corn to family meals, this might feel difficult to hear. But here's the concern. After 70, the body's sensitivity to insulin naturally decreases. Metabolism slows, blood sugar regulation becomes less efficient, and the risk of prediabetes or type 2 diabetes increases quietly in the background. That's when foods like corn shift from being a pleasure to becoming a potential problem. Corn is mostly starch, and even small amounts can have a bigger effect than expected. Just half a cup of sweet corn contains more sugar than many people assume, and it converts quickly into glucose in the bloodstream. This rapid spike in blood sugar often leads to energy crashes, sudden hunger not long after eating, and, over time, damage to blood vessels and nerves if high blood sugar happens too often. For older adults already on the edge of metabolic issues, this creates a dangerous pattern. Take Susan, a 72-year-old woman I once worked with. She loved canned corn and added it to nearly everything: rice, soups, even toast. She didn't indulge in candy or cake, but she couldn't understand why she was constantly fatigued and struggling with her energy levels. Her doctor eventually tested her A1C levels, and the results showed they were edging dangerously close to the diabetic range. It wasn't until she made a simple switch, replacing corn with leafy greens and high-fiber beans, that her blood sugar began to stabilize. Along with the week change, her energy gradually returned, and she finally understood what had been dragging her down. Corn itself isn't inherently bad, but it's also not as neutral as many people believe. The real problem arises when it's combined with other starchy foods like potatoes, white bread, or rice. That combination pushes the body into a kind of sugar overload, especially in older adults, whose systems are already more sensitive. This constant spike forces the pancreas to work harder than it should, and over time, it may even wear it out. For anyone trying to manage blood sugar, or simply avoid the exhausting highs and lows of the blood sugar roller coaster, it might be time to treat corn as an occasional food rather than a daily staple. You don't have to fear food, but you should learn to understand it. Corn can still have a place in your diet, but for better health, that place may need to shift a few steps back from the center of your plate. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss any of our future videos. Your support helps us continue creating content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 5. A vegetable that hides heavy metal risks. Spinach. Yes, I know, it's often praised as a superfood, and in many ways it is. Spinach is rich in iron, calcium, magnesium, and powerful antioxidants. But there's a lesser-known side to spinach that becomes especially important as we age, particularly for those who eat it often. Spinach has a natural tendency to absorb and retain high levels of oxalates and even heavy metals, most notably cadmium, from the soil it grows in. And while you might not notice anything right away, these compounds can quietly undermine your health over time. Let's break that down more clearly. Oxalates are naturally found in many plants, but spinach contains some of the highest levels. For certain individuals, especially those with reduced kidney function, consuming too many oxalates can lead to kidney stones or make existing kidney conditions worse. As we grow older, kidney efficiency naturally declines, even in people without diagnosed disease. That means substances that were easy for the body to process at 40 can become a significant burden by the time we're 75. But oxalates aren't the only concern. The part that often goes unmentioned is spinach's ability to draw heavy metals from the soil, particularly cadmium. This toxic metal has been linked to kidney damage, bone loss, and even certain cancers. And unfortunately, cadmium in agricultural soil is not as rare as we'd hope. Its presence is often tied to phosphate fertilizers, industrial runoff, or even air pollution settling into the ground over years. Once cadmium makes its way into the soil, it can be taken up by spinach, and from there, it enters your body when you eat it. Now, this doesn't mean you need to fear spinach altogether. The real risk develops when it's consumed in large amounts and on a frequent basis, when it becomes your go-to salad base, your daily smoothie ingredient, or a side dish that shows up on the table every night. In those cases, what seems like a healthy habit can slowly begin to work against you. The truth is, the dose makes the poison, and the source matters more than many realize. Buying organic spinach doesn't guarantee safety from heavy metals unless the soil itself has been tested and verified, and no amount of washing will remove contaminants that the plant has already absorbed internally. I once knew a man named Harold, 82 years old, sharp as a tack, and proud of his daily green routine. Every morning, without fail, he blended spinach into his smoothie, believing it was the foundation of his health. But after 2 years of this habit, his doctor noticed subtle but concerning shifts in his kidney function markers. Not enough to trigger immediate alarm, but enough to raise a serious question. When Harold reduced his spinach intake and added variety, rotating in kale, arugula, and romaine, those numbers gradually improved. Spinach isn't evil, and it still has many health benefits. But once we pass 70, we have less room for toxic buildup in the body. Detoxification processes naturally slow down, organs become more vulnerable, and overall resilience begins to shrink. That's why moderation and variety matter more than ever. If you love spinach, by all means, keep it in your diet. But rotate it, and don't rely on a single vegetable to carry all your nutrition. In the long run, variety is your best protection. And in this case, it protects you from a risk most people never even see coming. Number 6. A vegetable that quietly turns into a sugar trap. Corn. It's sweet, it's nostalgic, and for many people, it brings back memories of summer barbecues and buttery side dishes at family gatherings. But behind that sweetness hides a problem that rarely gets talked about, especially for those over 70. Corn isn't just a vegetable, it's a starch-heavy carb bomb that acts more like sugar in your body than most people realize. When you eat corn, whether it's on the cob, served as kernels, or ground into polenta or grits, your body quickly converts it into glucose. And for seniors, whose insulin sensitivity naturally declines with age, that process leads to one predictable result: blood sugar spikes. Frequent blood sugar spikes don't just increase the risk of diabetes, they actually accelerate aging at the cellular level. That's not speculation, it's well-documented science. But there's another layer that makes corn particularly deceptive. Corn is one of the most genetically modified crops in the United States. In fact, most commercially grown corn is engineered either to survive heavy pesticide spraying or to produce its own insecticide. That means, unless you're specifically buying certified organic or non-GMO corn, you're likely consuming residues of chemicals such as glyphosate. This herbicide has been linked in some studies to liver damage, hormone disruption, and even certain cancers. For seniors, the danger is greater because the body's natural detoxification systems are no longer as strong or efficient as they were decades ago. Small exposures add up more quickly, and the effects become harder to reverse. And then there's corn oil. Stripped of its nutrients through heavy processing and loaded with omega-6 fatty acids, it acts like an inflammation trigger inside the body. Chronic inflammation is one of the silent drivers behind many age-related diseases. Everything from arthritis and heart disease to memory decline and Alzheimer's. The more corn-based products you eat, whether it's corn oil, corn syrup, flakes, chips, or tortillas, the more fuel you're quietly feeding to that fire. I once spoke with a woman named Eleanor, 77 years old, who had made corn a part of nearly every meal. Cornbread with her stew, corn on the cob with her fish, and even a corn muffin in the morning with coffee. She thought it was simple, familiar, and comforting. But over time, her blood pressure began creeping upward, and the stiffness in her joints worsened. When her doctor suggested cutting back on corn and replacing it with fiber-rich vegetables like zucchini, bell peppers, and broccoli, she began to notice a change. Within just 6 weeks, Eleanor noticed real changes. She was walking more comfortably, her joints felt less stiff, and her blood sugar levels began to stabilize. She told me something that really stuck. "I thought I was eating the way I always had, but my body was changing. I didn't realize how much corn was dragging me down." And that's the truth about corn. It feels harmless. It's warm, it's familiar, and it doesn't seem indulgent in the way sweets or desserts might. But after 70, the real danger isn't indulgence. It's consistency. It's the everyday habits, the foods you rely on without thinking, that often cause the most subtle but lasting harm over time. So, be mindful. If you enjoy corn, keep it as an occasional pleasure, but don't allow it to slip quietly into every corner of your diet. What feels safe can sometimes be the very thing that undermines your health when repeated daily. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a video. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move toward some final thoughts. As we grow older, one realization becomes crystal clear. What we eat no longer just affects our weight or how much energy we have for a single day. It shapes our entire future. The vegetables we once assumed were universally healthy may now quietly work against us, slowly wearing down our hearts, our brains, and even our bones. This isn't about fear. It's about clarity. It's about recognizing that knowledge gives us power. You deserve to feel confident and empowered by your food choices, not deceived by them. And as we've seen, each vegetable we've discussed today shares one thing in common. Each of these vegetables shares something in common. They either hide toxins, spike blood sugar, fuel inflammation, or disrupt the delicate balance your body works so hard to maintain after 70. And perhaps the most dangerous part of all is that most people have no idea. They eat these foods believing they're making healthy choices, when in reality, their health is quietly slipping away meal after meal. But the good news is, this doesn't have to be your story. You've already made it this far. You've lived through decades of changing diets, health trends, and confusing fads that often promise much but deliver little. Now is the time to simplify and return to what truly matters. Choose vegetables that are clean, fresh, and nourishing, foods that give more than they take. When in doubt, go for what feels light, what digests easily, and what leaves you feeling energized and steady after you eat. Your body carries wisdom that no study or diet book can replace. If you listen closely, it will tell you what strengthens it and what wears it down. We're not saying you need to eliminate every single item on this list forever. What truly matters is awareness, because awareness creates space for better choices. Maybe that means swapping canned mushrooms for fresh ones. Maybe it's cutting back on corn or giving your digestive system a break from eggplants for a few weeks. Even one small shift, when done consistently, can bring surprising benefits. Better sleep, more steady energy, sharper focus, and even a lighter mood throughout the day. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Share one thing you learned from this video and how you plan to use it in your daily life. Your thoughts mean a lot to us, so don't hesitate to speak up. Every time we read your stories and reflections, it gives us fresh motivation and encouragement to keep creating content that matters. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please remember to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. Your support is what allows us to continue producing content that informs, inspires, and empowers people like you. Wishing you good health, lasting happiness, and a life filled with peace and vitality. And don't forget, subscribe to our channel so you never miss the videos we create for you.